learn it, how am I going to know that I've become it? So it's a school. Shakespeare said that in his plays. He said, earth is a stage upon which you play your act. And that whole different perception made me start switching things, and after a while, I didn't have to hold on to all the angers. And there was, each of us, we have baggage and people in our lives that we just can't understand. Oh, my goodness, you know, some of the challenges. They're actually tests. Because when you look at the beings at the level of the ascended masters that are pure love and light, do you think that they would allow like one or two little piddly things, you know, hold them back? No, their love and radiance is so great. And they want every one of you to experience that same emotion. They're on your side, they're on your team, cheering you on like cheerleaders, but they can't interfere with your free will. And they will not. They love you that much. They're going to let you do it on your own. Even if you stumble and fall, skin your knees, get hurt. That's because they love us. The masters then, when they began to give me that kind of interpretation of what was going on down here, and the fact that the earth is going on, then suddenly I had a whole different perception about what I knew, you know, and the plan. As of to date, there are approximately 80% of the star seeds on the planet that are awakened. And the plan was that by the end of the decade of the 80s, the star seeds were to have been awakened and connected and start coming together. Have you noticed that friends you had 5 and 10 years ago are no longer in your arena of friends? That's because you are reconnecting now on a vibrational level. And there is something in the Bible, I don't know where or what it is, but when Christ said something like, when it is all over, all of the lambs will be on my right and all of the goats will be on my left. It's there. It's the vibrational frequency. This wedge is coming into the planet now, and it is binding and bonding all of the people who want to go on in love and light, forming over here, and all of the others. And the wedge is getting deeper and deeper and deeper, but everyone has free will. Everyone can choose whatever side, whatever they want to do at the time. And this wedge is going to go very deep. Now, when the earth moves into the 5th dimension, even the masters do not know when that will happen. There is something else in there that says something about when it happens, it will happen in a twinkling of an eye. There is something in the scriptures or something about that. Okay? What that means is, you've got a planet, you've got planet Earth here, and you've got all these little pinpoints of people going all the way over, all binding the earth. And if every single one of them was in love and light and that higher vibration, it's the quantum leap that we're going to move into. Because the vibrations right now are at a certain level. And suddenly, with more and more people raising their vibrations, dropping away the negativity, getting out of the illusion, and we don't know how fast or how soon it's going to happen, or when that exponential effect will start taking place. But one by one by one, and suddenly 2, 4, 8, 16, etc., the earth then, we will help the earth move faster and faster into this new dimension. And suddenly, there's going to be a second of time. That much time, and the earth is going to be into the 5th dimension. And you're not, because it'll happen like that. None of us know when. There will be no time to renegotiate. You know, you've had 2,000 years. Do you see how important it is? We don't know if it's going to be tomorrow. We don't know if it's going to be December 23rd of 1993 or 1999. We don't know. But the important thing is the faster you begin to clean up your act and be a part of it, the faster you are assured that ticket home to go into this other dimension with other mansions and all of the wonderful places where we're headed. Now, I've never asked Kathumi, I've never asked the Arcturians to describe this. I'm too busy. They have me on other projects, other books, etc. And I myself do not have a clear picture of what it will be like or where we're headed. But they assure us that this transformation is going to affect every single thing in our human bodies. Right down to the DNA and RNA, we will be changed molecularly into 5th dimensional beings that go on. And that again is what Ken ended with. with a statement about the externalization of the soul and moving into, it's called the ascension, the rapture that they talk about. We're moving into that, and that is going to happen. According to my sources, the Arcturians, a lot of the things that are happening on the etheric to many souls, more and more and more, they're being, quote, abducted, and things are happening to them. They're rewiring them. They are actually helping them make the transition. And we're helping ourselves on the physical level. I'll bet almost everyone in here has, over the last 10 years, has reduced their red meat content considerably in your diets. You didn't even know what you were doing. You've been programmed to go on. You are purifying your body because the vibrational level of red meats and things like that holds you down. So then you transfer into chicken and fish and turkeys and this kind of stuff, and then you transfer again, etc., etc. You yourself has been involved in the purification process because right to the cellular level, you are actually purifying yourself. Kuthumi says, and this one blew me away when I heard this, Kuthumi says we've got 9 bodies. I thought we had 1, right? 1 enchilada right here. No, we have 9. And it starts at the physical, which is the lowest vibrational level. And this is in the book after Sacred Journey to Atlantis. Wait till you read that book. It's going to blow you away. If you have a hard time with this one, don't buy the others, because what's happening is that we've got 9 bodies that go all the way up to our own higher selves. You have a physical body, an emotional body, a causal body, a mental body, a higher mental body. And what we're trying to do right now, all the way up to the higher self, we are trying to bring all of those 9 bodies into perfect alignment. And you have to do that by being a master of emotion, by being a master of your physical, by being master of your mental, etc. Now, how many of you can control your own mind? How many of you, if I said let's meditate for 1 minute and I want you to think about nothing, could control your mind and to actually have nothing in your mind for a whole minute? It's nearly impossible. Now, does that give you a clue as to how far into mastery we are? We can't even control our own minds. But you can do it with discipline. You can do it with practice. And the more you become centered, the more you balance, he says, the yin and the yang, the masculine and the feminine within you, and you begin to bring those into balance, the calmer you get, the more centered you get, the more control of your mind, and all of your vibrations begin to come into harmony so that the higher self can become one with you. And that's a part of the process. We've got several years to be able to achieve that. In this process, Master Kuthumi says that the human race will be transformed into it's like a whole new species. And he equates it. He says the only thing in your history that you have to compare this with, he said when archaeologists go back and they look at Cro-Magnon man and Neanderthal man, etc., they can find a whole group of evidence that describes this whole human form at that time, like Cro-Magnon. They can find the Neanderthal, but they cannot find anything on the planet that shows the transition between them. There's nothing there. It's because at those times also in our evolution, we moved to a certain point of that octave, that 7 octaves in that, and suddenly we were catapulted into another whole new dimension. And he says that the human species is going to go through something very similar. That's why we're having people with the out-of-body experiences. That's why we're having telepathic and all of the things that are happening now. Because the vibrational frequency is high enough where it's moving into our brains. The pineal and pituitary glands in our brains are now being activated. And in that activation within our minds and brain structures, we now are developing other and new skills that we didn't know we had had. He says that the reincarnated souls that are here today, the children of light, were also in a few other major civilizations together. One, he said almost all of them were in Egypt together. At the time when for hundreds of years there was only peace and harmony and abundance, no wars. It was an incredible time in Egypt. No famine, Nothing like that. And he says that the initiates at that time understood and actually learned the curriculum of the unseen in that lifetime and began to understand it. It's like we've been dealing with half a deck of cards. When you only work with the physical world, you've got half the curriculum. And because the whole world is so much into the yang energy, the masculine energy, physical, you have to see it, feel it, and kick it and touch it in order for it to exist. Otherwise, it's not there. That we have blocked the intuitive. We have blocked off the emotion, everything that's on the inside of us. Now he is saying, go inward. Find the other half. That's your connection to the divine. Move through your heart. Listen to your heart. And I think Leonie said yesterday, listen to your heart. This is where the action is. This is where the divine perfection is. We've closed it down because we're analytical. We need data. We need forecasts and projections and everything from the mind, that we don't listen to this anymore. And when you begin to balance that intuition with the power of the mind, and then what you do is you're balancing the male and female energy, and when you do that, you begin to be connected with the true source of power, the love that flows through you, and let that love pour out of your heart. Let it flow. He relates it also to color in sound. When you look at vibration, and this is in that next book in about a year, he's talking about the universal laws. One of the laws is everything has a vibration assigned to it. Everything. The higher vibrations, he says, transform the lower vibrations. It is law. You get a much higher vibration and a lower one here. Eventually you put the two together, and this high vibration is so much more powerful, and it's closer to love and light, that the lower vibration will eventually be transformed. If you look at the curriculum of light, he says, which each of us is, we are a light being. Going back to the UFO, did you see cocoon? That's you. That's you, the light being inside. That's your soul, the radiance of who you really are, is that essence. He says that curriculum of light, if you go back into 9th grade science and take a prism and you pass a light through it, you get the rainbow reflected on the paper. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Above violet comes ultraviolet, which we cannot see with our eyes. It's beyond the human spectrum. Below red comes infrared. We cannot see that. We are limited in normal perception to a small range of colors. Physics. Violet, about the color that you're wearing, that beautiful violet that you have on there, that frequency is about the highest color we can see before it turns to ultraviolet. You can use that color then with the power of your mind, and you can help dissolve some of the negativity around you. You should wear that color around you at all times. In fact, it's like an American Express card. Don't leave home without it. Take that color. Here's the way I use it. I could be driving down the street. I might see two kids fighting, picking on one another. We all know the children are beautiful, but there's a force going through them, a very angry force kind of. What I do is I throw the violet color around them. I cover them with violet. Just bless them with that color as I'm driving on. I'm not interfering with their karma, but I am using that frequency because all you have to do is throw it with your mind and it's there. Put it around your house. Protect your children when they leave to go to school in the morning. Your husband, your wife, your home. It will consume and dissolve negativity slowly, 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 slowly. Just try it. Try it for like 2 or 3 months, then give me a call. Your life is going to be changed. Because it's physics. It's a higher vibration, and Kazumi says it is the laws of the universe. So start using those kinds of things for your own protection, to make your life a little bit better. Throw it around people, etc. You can meditate with it. Hold them in the light. And always through your heart. Always work through your heart center. That's the most important thing. Now, I've talked a lot about Kasumi here, and I want to explain a little bit the differences and read some of the information that I've received for this conference for you from both the Arcturians, Soltic, and Master Kasumi. But I know that some of you aren't really familiar, and the Arcturians have explained, and I won't steal their thunder, but I'll read to you what they say. But I want to give you a little background about Master Kuthumi. When he was first introduced to me, at that point I was only bringing through messages for other people. I would never do it for myself. I kept, all contaminated. I know me too well. I can't tell if it's truth or real or whatever. And I was really into a lot of denial. This was years ago. I had a friend from Santa Fe come through, and I met him. And he very gently encouraged me. He said, Norma, you really need to use this gift and bring information through for yourself too. No way, I'm not going to do it, you know, and into that same obnoxious attitude, you know. Oh, you should have seen me then. If you think I'm bad now, you should have seen me then. Oh, crumb, you know, it was just really. And I was, you know, really solid. No way, I'm not going to do this. And so, but he said no. Told me how to meditate for 3 days. Explained to get up real early on Sunday morning, go to my computer the way I received the information, and gently told me things to do. Well, I wouldn't admit to him that I would, but I went home, you know, okay, I'm going to try this, you know. And so I went home, and I did it for 3 days. I got up real early on a Sunday morning, went to the computer, and I got this beautiful message that said, it was long, but basically the essence was, from this day forward, I am going to assign you to a master called Kuthumi, or as some of us say, Kuthumi. And they said, but the only way we can do this is through the heart. And they described his radiance, and et cetera, et cetera. Well, I remember the energy in the room was so beautiful when I received that message. But within 30 minutes after that, I was into my denial, et cetera. Who's this dude? You know, this kind of stuff, whatever. And I went marching the next day back up to Santa Fe, and I met Dennis. And I took this transcript and threw it across the restaurant table, you know, and said, and who is Kuthumi? You know, yeah, great. You know, now you got strange names or whatever, you know, and so anyway, he looked at me very quietly. He's kind of like the Arcturians in a way, I guess, you know, the messages. He said, Kuthumi came through? I'm going, yeah, you know this dude? He said, Kuthumi? He said, let me tell you who Kuthumi is. Now, mind you, I'd not even made up this name before. I'd never heard of it, nor had I read it. I'm talking blank slate, tabula rasa, okay? And I went, and he took me over to his home. He pulled out a book, triple fold, shows me this hierarchy of the ascended realms. And of course, being raised Catholic, I knew of the saints and I knew of ascended masters, etc. But this list and these levels of hierarchy, I'll tell you, this was new business to me. And there in this circle, with the name of Jesus, everyone else had one name, like Almoria, Lanto, Hilarion, all these other names, Athena, etc. And in one circle was Jesus and the name Kuthumi, world teacher. 2 people, 2 beings. And Kuthumi holds the title of world teacher and is in charge of this plan on earth right now to bring it into the 5th dimension. There was Saint Germain and there were all these other beings up there. I remember looking at that, standing there that day, you know, almost in tears, you know, and it's like, what is going on? You know, and as a researcher for 20 years at the university, I mean, that's all I knew, you know, and research and etc. To me, that was data. I knew that that was data because 1, I knew that I couldn't make that name up. 2, who is this person, this being, who's been communicating with people who's already written it in books? And then I found, as I went back into my research, that Kuthumi and Almoria had appeared and worked with an Alice Bailey in the early 1900s, and she ended up writing 25 volumes of books. And in the 1800s with Madame Blavatsky in Russia, and she wrote 4 books this thick called Secret. 2 of them were Secret Doctrines, and the other 2 was Isis Unveiled, 2 volumes of that. And in there, I've already received this information, you know, and over the past, that research came months later when I found the connection. But in the meantime, Kuthumi is giving me information about how the initiates of Isis would rise again, you know, to bring the world to love and light, and explaining all of this. It's in those books of a copyright 100 years later. And to me, as a scientist, I'm going, this is data. You know, and I left there, and I remember it changed my whole life. And I thought, maybe I better get serious about this. Maybe I better start getting off my high horse and just start saying, okay, I don't see you and I don't know what's going on, but maybe I'm ready to listen. Not learn yet, just listen. And it changed me inside to experience that. Now these were some of the pictures of Kuthumi. This was, I think the magazine is Aeolia. It says Kuthumi, Master of Wisdom. I found this about a year or two ago. I want to show you the resemblance though. Now this is one picture of how he's appeared throughout time to many different people. Now, you know the new Time Life series that's out? You know, they have all of the phenomenon, you know, the mysteries of the unknown and stuff. They, you know, every 2 months you can get one. They have a whole section in there about Master El Morya and Kuthumi. Now look at the difference, or look how similar. This comes from the Time Life books. This is when he supposedly appeared to Madame Blavatsky. Yeah, Madame Blavatsky. And there again, you know, there's somewhat of a similarity between these. A friend of mine, and I don't have an overhead for this, gave me this picture when they found out that Kuthumi was bringing messages through. Look at that. Look at how beautiful. The radiance. These, and there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of ascended masters up there that are there guiding us right now, that are part of this whole orchestrated plan. Now Kuthumi says, he says, you know that saying about ask and ye shall receive, knock and the door will be opened. He said, we're waiting to serve. He said, we're underemployed up here. Nobody's knocking because of free will. He says, just turn to God. Turn to the ascended realms. We're here. We're waiting to work with you. So we do now. We ask, it drops in our lap. Ask, and ye shall receive. And we've started changing our perception, and we begin to ask now, and believe it or not, they never let you down. It comes in a strangest, most beautiful way, a telephone call, whatever you need. You know, if it's something with finances or something, suddenly a little contract comes in or whatever. It's so perfect. But he says, you're not asking. You're not knocking. And as a result, he is saying, you know, because of the free will, that there's a certain barrier, you know, at that point in helping, you know, work with the planet. Okay. So this is the main individual that I have been connected with over the last several years that was introduced to me. What I have found, and it's been actually about a year or two since I've connected back with the Arcturians. Now the Arcturians in that book stated very clearly that they were a part of a whole celestial fleet that was here to help the Earth move into the 5th dimension. And the Arcturians said, we work for higher beings. You know, all of this whole hierarchy up there. So when I was asked to speak at the conference here, I turned first to Kuthumi. And I asked Kuthumi for some information because I was asked to summarize, and I knew that it was going to be on the holistic, the conference would be on a unifying concept here. So this is the question that I asked Master Kuthumi. I said, Kuthumi, please give me guidance on how I should present a summary for the conference next week. The name of the conference is the Unifying Hunch, and its purpose is to bring many guest speakers together to discuss their individual work in progress in various areas of science, astronomy, intuition, ufology, etc. This is the response that he sent through, and before turning me over to the Arcturians. He says, dearest daughter in the light, I, Kuthumi, come to you this day as your brother and guide. I come as your brother to assist you in the emotional support you need to be able to move this presentation to its highest. That is a key factor in its success, for the combining of the two worlds that will result, because of the words selected, will have a dramatic impact on the world. I come as your guide to provide the direction you will need to succeed. The first thing you need to know is that the Arcturians are those destined to answer your questions at this conference regarding the unified field of intelligence. They should be consulted as the primary contact when asking questions that deal with the educating of the masses in preparation for the consciousness shift that it takes to identify with this phenomenon. When they are not qualified to answer a question, they will direct the frequency to the being who will provide the best answer for your inquiry. Rest assured that in the oneness and in the unified field, that all of the celestial forces will share in the answering of these questions. That is a representative model of the point that we are trying to illustrate. Please feel free to call on me to assist in the explanation of the Templar. Since this structure is the unifying force for the beloved Terra, it is appropriate that it be introduced to this audience. And at the end, I'm going to explain a structure that they are sending through. They're designing a structure approximately the size of the Great Pyramid of Giza that is so incredible, with 5 stories, levels to it. And they are designing it inch by inch, foot by foot. And I'll have just a little time at the end to explain to you what the structure is. It is the most incredible structure that any of us has ever seen. And in October, I presented this concept to the Parapsychology Society at the United Nations. I was invited to speak there and give them the information as well. And in that message, which you have a copy of, it's the dark pink that we handed to you, Kathumi's message to the United Nations at that time stated that this is the prophesized, rebuilt Solomon's Temple for the planet. It has been stated for centuries that Solomon's Temple would be rebuilt. And when you see this structure, it's going to blow you away, because none of us has ever seen anything like this before. And they're sending it through message after message, foot by foot, inch by inch. And so evidently I'm supposed to tell you about it, which I'll do at the end of today. He says, now please begin to enter your questions. All right, I turn back to Giuliano, that one in the We the Arcturians that's claimed to be the captain. And when I do this, it's real interesting because I can feel all these energy shifts within me. It's like zip, 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 like this, it's like readjusting everything, fine-tuning. So I asked him, I said, I would like to connect to Giuliano on the starship Athena and request information that will assist me in delivering an interpretation and summary of the conference proceedings. Please describe the unified field of intelligence and how this relates to the information that will be presented at the conference. Here's what Giuliano says. When he came through, he said, greetings from the Celestial Command. I come as the ambassador from Arcturus to welcome this audience of the mind to our dimension in the heavens. I think they were calling you intelligent. Okay? I think that was a compliment. We have long waited for this moment to communicate in this manner with the intelligence of your world, and we are pleased and honored that we have been invited to do so in this fashion. We come as your sisters and brothers of the universe and look forward to the day when our chakras and dimensional sense organs will be able to communicate with each other in a manner that is better suited to both of our species. Until that day arrives, we are filled with gratitude that we can send this energy to your hearts from the portal of divine intelligence to your parsec of the universe. You ask me to explain the unified field of intelligence, and I respond by telling you that this field is that of your consciousness. It is the energy of the holistic patterns that comprise the microcosm of the macrocosm. It is the energy of light, of which all is created. It is the combination of the sound and the mathematical equations that constitute the understanding of the proportions of manifestation. It is the force field that emanates from the great central sun, of which your higher selves are a part. It is that which is eternal and that which can neither be created nor be destroyed. This explanation relates to the information destined to be presented at the conference in 2 ways. 1, each of the individuals who will honor your meeting will have knowledge that this is so. In this knowing, they will also have their individualized pieces of knowledge that strengthen this understanding. If they will accept the challenge of expanding their own consciousness to include the understanding that everything in their paradigms could be expanded to encompass the principles of both light and sound, this is a challenge to all of you, then they will understand why the electron is both a particle and a wave, depending upon the impact of the energy that drives it. I don't understand any of this, but I'm going to assume that you people in here do. This is just what came through in about 5 minutes, okay? The second way this information relates is that it constitutes the foundation for understanding the mind. Each being is in oneness with the unified field of intelligence. Therefore, the entire nature of the individual is comprised of thought energy, which constitutes that unified field. This energy is directed by the will, which is governed by the heart. In this relationship, it is important to understand that what one directs force toward accomplishing, if the heart and will are also synchronized, will manifest. They're giving us the first keys in here for manifestation. And Sacred Journey to Atlantis has a lot of the keys and codes also, and some mathematics in there that I don't understand. Manifestation is the physical experience of the mind energy directing the electron to synthesize sound and light. Manifestation is the mathematics of the universe, which combines the light frequency with the coded sound frequency that brings all harmony. It is that which is the presentation of dense matter that has matched the keys and codes of light and sound. It is that which is one with the unified field of intelligence, and that which brings peace, abundance, creation, and harmony through the higher vibration of love. The unified field of intelligence is the universe of 12 dimensions made up of 1,000,000 variations of vibrations. When an individual is vibrating at the highest levels, which equates to love and light, then that individual has the power to control the electron. And I find it fascinating in all the messages on the Templar. And all in here, 12, 12, 12, and they say that the Templar must be built with the number 12 as its foundation, and John yesterday confirmed that with his wisdom and knowledge when he talked about the perfect number, and it's in hundreds of the messages I've received. I didn't know that. I have to take their word for it, and John's word for it too. In the universal laws, the higher vibrations consume and transform the lower vibrations. That's something I've already mentioned here. Therefore, all that is of the higher will eventually change that which is of the lower. This phenomenon comes into play in the 5th dimension and higher. As the Earth moves into the 5th dimension in the New Age, the dimension of thought manifestation will prevail, and all that one becomes in the unified field will automatically manifest. It also means that the lower vibrations will be consumed by the higher ones. Therefore, the higher manifestations will build the 7th golden age on the planet. And they insist that we are going to have another Atlantis coming in, that we're going to build it. So then I asked, please describe the hierarchy of the celestial forces that are assisting Earth in its transition into the 5th dimension. I figured that you'd probably want to know something about that, because I've never really asked myself, and I was curious. The hierarchy consists of many interdimensional beings from many parts of the universe and universes. It's interesting that I thought there was only one, but they claim there's more. The beings who are primarily here to assist Earth into its dimensional shift into the age of Aquarius are those who comprise the 5th, 6th, and 7th dimensional frequencies. A master like Cthulhu is 7th. Arcturians are 5th. So that gives you kind of an idea of where they reside. These beings command a consciousness of the unified field of intelligence and understand the oneness of the all. They are here to assist humans in their transformational process of ascending into their light bodies. Some of the primary 5th dimensional sources who volunteered to assist in this movement, all starseeds volunteered to be here. You can't blame anyone for being here, okay? Sirius and Sirius B, Pleiades, Lyra, Cassiopeia, the higher dimensional forms of Hydra, Orion constellation, M29, whatever that is, Hercules constellation, Aldebaran, Antares, and they say, and ourselves from Arcturus. The sixth dimensional forces are fewer in numbers, for their frequencies are outside the spectrum that is supporting Earth's transition into the fifth dimension. A few of the representatives, they say, are Alpha Centauri, Cygnus, Andromeda, and Polaris. And I find that interesting because the sacred book, The Sacred Journey to Atlantis, continually they talk about Polaris, and they also relate Polaris to your tetrahedron in a moment. You know, I just find this fascinating. The ambassadors from the sixth dimension bring higher truths and skills to the planet to allow the information to be purified. They also are those who bring great skills to the masses and can teach others how to become one with the unified field of intelligence, or what we call the golden liquid light. They are the masters of this energy, and upon awakening to its gifts and fragrance, remember how to integrate its essence through their own and use the energy for higher truths and healing on the planet. Representatives from the fifth dimension assist Earthlings, how do you like that term? We're Earthlings, in using the information and grounding the concepts into the everyday fabric of their existence. We work endlessly to teach our brothers and sisters in ways that encompass the principles of light and sound, and to help them understand how to become one with higher intelligence. The above group, plus others, actually forms an intricate web of intelligence that is available today for any soul in embodiment to access. The intelligence that guides all of these groups is manifested in many forms, from the etheric to the physical. So they're acknowledging, I think here, that they are in other dimensions, like aboard crafts, and they're also in physical form among us, the souls that have embodied. That means that the essence of each of the groups is found in the dimensional spectrum and also in embodiment on Earth. Then they say, this is truth. Each group of beings has a particular skill or trait, if you will, that predominates. This trait is what directs that group's part of the mission. For example, the beings from Sirius are the grounders of information. As the higher concepts come into the physical world, they are the ones who understand how to apply the information into the everyday world. The beings from Orion are the lawgivers and those who accommodate the rules that you follow to assist in understanding your world. The beings from Hercules rule the logic and rhythm for this parsec of the universe. They invented the binary coding system and other intricate patterns, such as the mathematics that comprise the Mandelbrot set, consuming much of your attention these days. So, you see, there is a well-coordinated force living simultaneously within your spectrum of influence that is actually assisting you to understand higher concepts. These forces cannot interfere with your free will, and will not, for if they should do so, they would violate the law. This is so. They will, however, work with you interdimensionally with your mind and heart to access higher truths to help assure that the planet will move into the fifth dimension with the vibration of love and light. In the future, it is also assured that more humans on Earth will have access to the forces in other forms of existence, other than mental telepathy, which is today the most predominant form of contact. This will become a reality when this one, you have to listen to this. This is depressing. This will become a reality when the critical mass of consciousness reaches a measurement of light that is equivalent to a 6.3 on your Richter scale. Our measurement of light for planet Earth today reads approximately a 2.2. You can see that if you should so wish to make this reality, that you have quite a distance across the galaxy yet to travel. There is another level of intelligence and radiance that guides you on Earth that we have not yet introduced. The level we speak of is the seventh dimension. This is what a lot of books talk about Shambhala, if you've gotten into any of that literature. The beings reside on this level are known to you as the Ascended Masters. They are the etheric embodiments of your own self-images and constitute a force of such magnitude that even we stand in awe at their magnificence. These beings work with the organization that you have termed the Great White Brotherhood, and who we call the Brotherhood of the All, And in this case, white means white light. It is not a racial kind of statement. They're speaking of white light. They are the caretakers of this universe and travel to other universes